Big Softy is dead. It's not dead. It's still here. The vignette, the Big Softy preset in the vignette is still here. Hey everybody, Matt Klaskowski. If you don't get the inside joke, it's kind of, I've been doing ON1 videos for years, and people kind of poke fun at me because in just about every video I do, in some way I end up going over here to the vignette, whether it was in effects or whether it's here in develop. And I go down to the vignette and I use the Big Softy preset. And I usually, we'll tweak the brightness inside there because you don't want to know that there's a vignette. So it should be a very subtle type of a thing, unless you want it to be very dramatic. But people poke fun at me. That's I usually go in there and do that. So here's the deal. Big Softy is not dead. It's just I have two ways of doing things, and I talk about this in a lot of my videos, so I probably sound a little like a broken record, but I've got a way to do things when I kind of like a photo and I'm not in the mood to spend a lot of time on the photo because I just kind of like it, and maybe I just don't have a lot of time to spend. Maybe I'm just not in the mood to spend a lot of time. So I'll come down, I'll do some quick adjustments, and I'll throw a Big Softy vignette on there. I just like the way I add a vignette to almost everything. I just like the way it draws attention to my subjects and pulls attention away from the edges. So if I really like a photo, then I have some ways of doing a little bit different. So that's what I figured I'd go into here, because don't mistake the fact that how much I like the photo involves how much I process it. The other thing is don't mistake the fact that my mood changes. So if you watched a video for a year ago from me where I did something different, my mood is different today. So I'm going to probably do something a little bit different today. I think by and large, my workflow is similar, but I do get in different moods. And sometimes I want to use one preset. Sometimes I want to use another. So anyway, let's cancel out of that. Let me show you my alternative to the Big Softy. I am in the develop module here. I'm going to go over to the local adjustments, and up top here, I'm going to choose my my preset shape to edges. Okay. And then I'm just going to click kind of right in the center here. Now, your local adjustments, this is basically a radial filter, and they're going to work on whatever settings that you have over here, because now I'm in that local adjustments panel. So you can see here, I'm going in and I'm darkening the edges. Well, one of the things that I'll do here is I'm going to finesse this in a couple of ways. One of the things that I'll do though is I'm going to go click on the gear icon. That's going to open up the advanced blending options that we have here, and I'm going to change the mode from normal to multiply, because that's going to give me an edge darkening, but it's going to give it to me in a different way than just pulling the exposure down, than just making the edges black or a darker color, okay? Because it interacts, it's a blend mode, it blends in with the photo in a little bit of a different way. So rather than do anything else, just you can see here, I've got a vignette, and it's not a good vignette, but I've got one, just by changing this blend mode to multiply. Then what I'll do is I'll start to fine tune the shape of the vignette a little bit. I think, that's for this photo, that's probably getting there. Bring these middle points in, and then to feather it, I'm going to put my arrow over on the outside here and pull that as far out as I can go. All right. Maybe not that far, but pretty darn close to it. So you can see here as I move this around, it's kind of like a little spotlight. Right? And you want to make sure you feather it quite a bit. You don't want to be able to see those edges inside of there. All right, so let's go over here. Let's hide this adjustment, and we'll go back over to overall settings. If I hit the backslash key, oh, you know what? I had done some other adjustments. Let's go back to local. There we go. I'm going to click the little dot here, and that'll show you the before and then the after. Again, the before and then the after. We can go back down here. We can show all of our adjustments. We can tweak the opacity a little bit here, but here's where it gets really interesting, because we can change this based on the type of photo that we're going to use. And what I mean by that is we've got all these sliders down here: highlights, shadows, skin. In fact, as I dive into this a little bit more, I can even click on the mask, and I get even more sliders. I get mask sliders, because remember, this is basically this vignette that we have is basically created with a mask, okay? So let's start with the mask here. We could feather it if we wanted to soften the edges. In fact, let's go click on view and we can view the mask. I think it's already feathered enough. Levels is interesting because what levels is going to do, it's going to pull it outward or inward more. Okay. And so we can really go back in here and we can fine tune that. If I go back to view, you can kind of see what it's doing to the photo. All right, so let's go back over here to view. So all it's doing is just adding more black or more, it's just kind of firming up the black edges or making them a little bit softer here. And then window. So let's go back over here. Window is essentially, it's going to just make the edges a little bit harsher. So we're not really going to use window for this example that we got here. All right, let's scroll to, let's go back and click on our little mask here and get rid of that stuff. Go back to the gear icon. So remember we have highlights, shadows. We're not going to use skin. Well, I can go over here and I can open up some shadow areas. So if I find that the vignette is looking too dark over some of the shadows, and sometimes that'll happen, I could basically say, hey, don't apply to those areas. Open those areas up. Same thing for the highlights. If I find it's darkening the highlights too much, I can go and bring that back. It's not much of a problem on this photo, and that's why I've got a couple photos I want to show this to you on, because it reacts a little bit differently. Okay. So, but if I do find it's reacting too much to the dark areas where, you know, sometimes on a blue sky, it'll make it look a little bit too blue, you can open that up here. Okay. So let's go back over here to browse and let's take a look at a different one. In fact, let's go straight to, let's go to a photo. I'm trying to think of a good photo with a blue sky. One of these two. Let's use this one here. Okay. I'm going to go to my local adjustment tool. Again, we're going to go to edges. I'm just going to click and I'm going to bring my exposure back over here to 0. Then I'm going to click on the little gear icon up top, change this blend mode back over here to multiply. And then you just have to finesse your little, your thing. I'm going to show you, we're going to turn this into a preset in a second. So that way you don't have to do this every single time. So this is a good one where we want to darken the edges, but take a look down here. See how it gets really, really dark down here? I like it up top here. I would probably pull the opacity back a little bit. I kind of like it up top, but that is going to require a different level of darkening than this will. And that's why I can come in here and I can pull it back with my shadows. I think the bottom is already pretty dark. I don't really need to add a vignette to that because it's dark. It's going to take your attention away from here, and your attention is going to be drawn here naturally. It's the rest of the stuff that I want to pull it away from. So that's why I can kind of pull it back when I start to mess with the shadow slider here. Again, we don't really have many highlights in here to worry about, so we wouldn't do that here. Now, the nice thing about this is if you come up here to settings, you can go down here and save them as a preset. I would suggest coming in here and maybe adding a new category if you think you're going to do this a lot, and make a new category called vignettes. And I'll just call this matte vignette, hide shadows, even though I actually didn't save that setting there. And then down here at the bottom, all you got to do is just choose your adjustable gradient tool. That's all we want to save into this preset here. So let's hit reset all. Now, when I go back over here to my presets and I go down here to my new vignettes category, I can click on that and it's going to show up on the photo. It's kind of a little secret handshake to get the radial filter back. You just have to click on your adjustment tool and then go click on that adjustment layer there, and you'll see it shows up inside of here. So if you click on your adjustment layer and then click on that tool, you have to have that tool selected or you're not going to see the little thing here. Okay, one more here, and let's take a look at something with brighter edges. Here's a good one. We've got a portrait. Jump over here to develop. Let's go ahead and click on our preset there, and then click on my local adjustment so I can move it and affect it. So here's a good example. We might want to move it and reshape it based on the photo, like so. I could probably even, pull the edges in a bit here. So now we have a different photo. It's kind of got darker edges. So let's go over here to our gear. You could see we can open up some of those shadows on the edges there. And that's, I don't know that I want to do that. I kind of like how they get darker. I want to be careful down here though. We've got some nice highlights and I don't want them to get too dark. And you could see they do. So that's where I can come over here and I can start to work on the highlights. And it's still going to make it darker if I turn it on and off, right? It still makes it darker, but it just keeps some of those highlights just present in the photo. It doesn't make those too dark. So I'm still able to keep some of those highlights poking through the bottom area down there. So as I said in the beginning, Big Softy is not dead. Big Softy is alive and kicking. He's a happy guy. It's Valentine's Day when I'm recording this, so he's got his girlfriend, and I just thought of so many places I could go with that, and I'm just gonna stop. So anyway, he is alive and kicking, and this is just a different way to do things. And so sometimes I'm in the mood to do this. If I really like the photo, I'll spend a little bit more time, especially as you create presets. You know, you don't have to. It probably took me 10 plus minutes to do this video, but normally once I make my presets and do this stuff, you can get in there and change it pretty quick. Guys, hope you have a great day. If you're watching this, you're probably not going to watch this on Valentine's Day because I usually do the video before I put it out. But anyway, happy post-Valentine's Day and have a great day. We'll talk to you again real soon.